Hello, faithful, and welcome to another edition of White Throne Metal Radio's Top 10 Songs. I am your host, Keven Crothers, station manager for White Throne Metal Radio, staff writer for Heaven's Metal Magazine. You can find links to both of those in the descriptions below. Today, I want to try to tackle a discography that is pretty huge, and quite honestly, I don't have all of it. So, with any of these top 10 videos, this is my favorites. It's not designed to be some kind of scholarly review or necessarily an exhaustive overview of somebody's complete work. So I don't make any pretense or bones about that. Today I want to talk about Bill Menchen. And Bill has been around in doing Christian heavy metal, hard rock for over 30 plus years, flat out. It's crazy, honestly. He's released material under Redeemer, Rev 7, Menchen, just his last name, Menchen, Titanic, Final Acts, The Seventh Power, and then also just under himself, he has a solo, Bill Menchen. Now, I have a pretty good chunk of the discography, but I don't, by any stretch, I don't have everything. I've got the the albums by Titanic, and these are all like reissues and stuff. Maiden Voyage. This has drums. This was remastered, redone drums with Robert Sweet from Stryper. Screaming in Silence, again, remastered, redone, essentially remixed drums with Robert Sweet. Both of these came out in 2010. Originally, they were done back, he recorded these, in 2002 for Screaming in Silence, in 1996 for Maiden Voyage, and then the last Titanic album, Full Steam Ahead. This was actually the first one I heard. This came out in 2007. On each of these are some different vocals. On both of these, it is listed as Mr. Simon Tyler, or AKA Mr. Keith Miles. For many of us, we were very familiar with Keith doing a lot of putting together the His festivals and such. And then on this album, the vocals are by David St. Andrews. Great stuff. There is a greatest hits package as well. These were all reissued and such through Retroactive Records. And then there's also the two albums I have by Final Acts. Both of these, this one was originally done, in 2005, and then redone in 2010. Again, drums by Robert Sweet. Then the Acts of the Apostles here. Both of these also. This has got drums here by Chris Reth. Keith Miles did the vocal. Bill Menchen on guitar, and Rod Reisner on bass. And it seemed like whenever Bill would do something with a different type of vocalist, he put out it with a different band name. But Bill was always, essentially, correct me if I'm wrong, but the sole songwriter. So you'd have song structures very similar, but different vocals lend themselves to a different sound, right? And then the Menchen albums, I have, trying to remember if there's more than these, but these are the ones I have. There is Red Rocks with vocals on here. It's Ken Redding. And then also I have In the Light, also Menchen. This one, both of these were done by put out through Retroactive. This one was from 2012. This one here, on this one you had, Robert Sweet did drums, and Tony Franklin from Whitesnake, The Firm, and Quiet Riot played bass on Red Rock. And this one was from, 2008. So, I mean, there's always, and then, can't forget this, then in 2018, Bill took the last Titanic album, Full Steam Ahead, took it back into the studio, re-recorded it, in many respects, remixed it, remastered it, with Robert Sweet again on drums, Martin St. Andrew again on the vocal, but released it as a Menchen album. So this sounds totally different. I mean, the songs are the same as Full Steam Ahead, but different order, and they a very different vibe, different feel. So, and then all the stuff I don't have. I don't have any of the Redeemer stuff. I don't have any of the Rev 7 material. I don't have his solo stuff. He did an album called Blues Metal Trance. I don't have that. And I'm sure there's other stuff I don't have. So that's part of the discography of Bill Menchen. Highly prolific. Bill hasn't really, it's been a couple of years now, I believe, since he's put out something new. But if you're looking for a Christian heavy metal band, lyrics, this is it. I mean, every song has something biblical. Really, Full Steam Ahead, I think, for me, probably had a few tracks that weren't anything negative. When we get to my favorite songs, that some of those tracks are on there. So let's talk about my 10 favorite Bill Menchen songs. Okay, and again, it's spread all throughout this discography. Your top 10, if you're a fan, may be completely different from mine, because like the Seventh Power stuff, all of this. Okay, we didn't even talk about this yet, right? So there's the original one, which this was a remix, I believe, that came out. This one recorded and issued in 2006. Robert Sweet does the drums. This was originally just called The Seventh Power, which he went back and in 2012, he issued this independently and called it The Power. Then you have the follow-up to that first one, which is Dominion and Power. This one came out in 2008, still featuring Robert Sweet on drums. And then the last one I have came out in 2012, and it was called Power and the Glory. And with this, it's Bill doing the vocal. And the vocal is put through a processor. It's very monotone. Most people, when they hear it, they go, it sounds like Ozzy. Lyric vocally. So, again, that's what I have. But there's a whole chunk of stuff I don't have. I've never heard. At least don't remember hearing. So let's get into this. Top 10. My favorite 10 songs from Bill Menchen. Subject to change. This is not a scholarly review. These are just my 10 favorites. All right? Coming in at number 10 is actually off of the is from Final Acts, Beyond Hell's Gate. It's the song Baptized in Blood. Keith Miles, it's a barn burner of a track. It just cranks, beginning to end, and with a great hook. It doesn't even run 3 minutes long. I mean, it just boom. There you go.
I've been baptized in blood. Baptized in blood. I've been baptized in blood. Jesus is the only one who gave his life for me. He was crucified on a cross in pain and misery.
It's a great song. Number 9 comes from the Titanic off of Maiden Voyage, and that's the song Nightmare. Another Keith Miles vocal. To me, it's got a great hook. Just driving, upbeat. You know, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. Great stuff, in my opinion. And coming in at number 8 is also a Titanic song. Comes in off of Full Steam Ahead. And again, that was one of the ones that was redone. And it's actually, it's the last song on Full Steam Ahead. It's a little slower tempo, kind of an epic, I don't want to say epic, but it just, it a lot of atmosphere. It's called The Sea. And it's got it's a slower tempo track. It's got a great hook. The sea gives up her dead. Just powerful. Great stuff. I mean, there's so much of this. It's like trying to amalgamate all this stuff. It's just amazing to me.
I saw an angel stand in the sun. He cried loud to everyone. Bless out the kings, beat on them all. Bless out the captains, great and small. The sea gave up the dead who laid down under the deep blue. Death and Hades gave up the dead who were in them
And of course, that song was redone on the 2017-18 album Menchen. So, The Sea. Just, to me, I like the atmospheric. The thing with this is the production's more direct. It's more in your face. There's not a lot of reverb, as it were, that, you know, to try to create a bigger sound palette. So it does have a different style, essentially. So that was number 8, The Sea. Number 7 is also off of Full Steam Ahead. Fancy that. You can tell what one of my favorite albums is. And that is Holy Ground. Honestly, I think Full Steam Ahead, it wins for me so many times because of the vocal from David Andrew. And he just absolutely fantastic vocal. And that song, Holy Ground, about Moses standing on holy ground, it's kind of a slower tempo, you know, and then it's got a great chorus where it kind of picks up a little bit, and a great riffing on there from Bill, and just a fantastic song. Coming in at number 6 from the Menchen album entitled Red Rock. That is the album opener, Train Crossing. I couldn't decide between that and another song, you know, which one actually would get my vote. But it's solid. Train Crossing comes in at number 6. Number 5. Again, it's kind of like, you know, I guess I could have broken it down, but I just felt like, you know, there's so much of this. Let's just kind of pull it all together here, you know. Coming in at number 5 off of the first Titanic album, Gods of War. And it's got a great riff, a great hook, you know, and Simon's vocal just reads it perfectly. Gods of War! And it cranks. It's a great song. Coming in at number 4 is another track off of the Red Rock album. I think it's the best Menchen of the two, Into the Light or Red Rock. I thought Red Rock was a little bit better. Into the Light felt a little samey to me. You know, just it felt, you know, didn't quite feel. I thought Red Rock was had a little more atmosphere, a little more diversity on it. Just my just my thoughts on that. But that song is called Wild Wind Blows. It's one of the last songs on the album, and he brings in keyboards, and it's upbeat. It almost feels like a mid-1970s Deep Purple song to me. And it just, great riff, a great hook, brings everything together there. And man, just solid all the way around. Wild Wind Blows. And if I can't intersperse some song clips when I get back into editing, I'll put them at the end. Coming in at number 3 from the Seventh Power. Some of you are probably going, you haven't mentioned anything from the Seventh Power yet. Yeah, I know. And that would be the song, the opening track and title track off of the second album, which is Dominion and Power. Great, upbeat, driving song. And you know, it really, it cranks. It's a great song. And this has got that Aussie sounding vocal. Ken Redding on the Menchen albums, it's more baritone, not quite as raspy as the Mark Andrews stuff for Titanic, or I'm confused. The David Andrews stuff for Titanic, sorry. And it's just a different vocal, different style. But Dominion and Power, the title track off of this, is my number 3. Number 2 favorite song by Bill Menchen is off the debut album from Seventh Power, and that is Human Sacrifice. He actually made a music video for this, and it's kind of swirly, you know, it's different, but it's a great hook. You'd think this song is very heavy. You're hearing the song called Human Sacrifice, and actually it's quite melodic, and he really, Jesus is our human sacrifice. It's a brilliant song. That's my second favorite Bill Menchen song. It's like when I get to that song, I just automatically hit replay just about every time. So coming in at number 1 from Bill Menchen is, I think it's a fantastic song. It's one of these songs that, man, if it had been released like in 1988, 1990, I suppose it could have been played everywhere. And it's a Titanic song, again, off of Full Steam Ahead. And that is Shovel the Coal. I think it's a brilliant song. It's an upbeat. It's you know, not super fast, but it's an upbeat chugga with a great chorus. The vocal is fabulous. The guitar solo is great. It just drives, and I will play. You know, again, if I can't intersperse these in editing, I will add these clips at the end, because that to me is my favorite Bill Menchen song. There's so many really good songs.
We don't know nothing yet. Pouring on like rain. Every brow, sweat and sweat. Shovel the coal every man below. Keep those fires bare. Shovel the coal, sweating drops of blood. Full steam ahead.
You know, from the debut, Seventh Power, Christ Died, great song. Ocean of Emotion, Possessor of You. Possessor of You was actually in my top 10, but it kind of got bumped out. It's kind of weird because it starts, it kind of meanders a little bit, and then all of a sudden it hits the chorus and it kicks into full speed. Great stuff. I really dug that. Emotion of Emotion, Ocean of Emotion, Motion, pardon me. Another, honorable mention. From the Power and the Glory album by the Seventh Power, After the Image, Blessed is the Man, God is Love. Just really good songs. I mean, you go back to the first Seventh Power album, and Everlasting Fire, great song. King of All Kings, Raise 'Em High, great stuff. From Titanic, from Maiden Voyage, A Nightmare, like I mentioned, obviously Gods of War, but Ocean of Blood, Freak Show, Hollywood Boulevard, Fight Back. Oh, that's a great song. I don't know how that didn't make my list. Great song. There's so much stuff here. If you're not familiar with Bill Menchen and you're looking for more hook-laden, kind of 80s traditional style heavy metal, classic style heavy metal, any one of these albums, I'm going to put some song clips. I'd start with Titanic, Full Steam Ahead. I think it's brilliant. But there you have it, my top 10 songs from Bill Menchen. What are your top 10 songs? And quickly, let me go over this again before the time on the video gets away from me, because once I add song clips, it's going to add more time. Coming in at number 1, Shovel the Coal. Number 2, Human Sacrifice. Number 3, Dominion and Power. Number 4, Wild Wind Blows. Number 5, Gods of War. Number 6, Train Crossing. Number 7, Holy Ground. Number 8 is The Sea. Number 9 is Nightmare, and number 10 is Baptized in Blood. Whew. Kind of blew right through that. There was so much material to kind of talk about. I hope you didn't get totally lost. Again, what are your top 10 favorite Menchen songs or Titanic? Put it all together. Put them in the comments below. I'm going to add some clips if I can't intersperse the songs back into the video. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to say your prayers, and God bless.
We don't know nothing yet. Pouring on like rain. Every brow, sweat and sweat. Shovel the coal every man below.